Hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning to um, Mr. Gregory. Hi, Mr. Gregory.
Good morning.
Can you hear my voice?
I can very well, boss.
Okay. Is it in the morning there or in the evening?
Boss. I'm in Jakarta, boss.
Oh, okay. I thought
It's
you are
my
in.
secret. Tinggal de Bali.
Oh, okay.
Morning, Mr. Greg.
Selamat
Morning.
pagi, Pak Anton.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Greg and Russell. Yes, thank you so much for all audience. Ya, silakan Pak Restu.
Okay. Good morning to all of our beloved and honored audience. May health and wellness always be bestowed upon us all. We would like to welcome you to our webinar today. The webinar is titled "The Pathway to the Top Universities in America," with our speaker today, Mr. Gregory Barattini, as the Southeast Asian Regional Representative of FOOTHILL, the Anza. Good morning, Mr. Gregory.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, also with us today is Russell Sofia. Hi, Russell.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Okay. Please allow me to introduce myself first. My name is Restu Sandika Kamarudin. Everybody can call me Restu. And I will be the moderator today to guide all of us all through our webinar today. First of all, before we start the webinar, I would like to explain a set of rules and regulations that applies all through today's session, all through today's webinar. Number one, all audience are obliged to mute microphones all through today's webinar. Microphones are only allowed to be opened once we enter the question and answer segment through the Zoom application raise hand feature. Number two, there will not be any handouts that will be distributed to the audience today. Number three, shall there be any question from any audience while the info sessions are still being conducted, questions must be typed and sent through the Zoom application chat feature set to everyone. Number four, this webinar is not going to be uploaded to any social media pages, including YouTube and Instagram. In conclusion, audiences are expected to pay attention to today's webinar from the beginning until the end. Before we enter today's webinar, I will enter the first segment of presenting the profile and the programs of Wardaya College to all of us here. I will use Bahasa Indonesia to present the profile and the programs of Wardaya College. Wardaya College adalah sebuah institusi pendidikan yang memiliki visi dan misi untuk mencetak manusia-manusia yang berkualitas dalam bidang pendidikan. Beberapa program yang ada di Wardaya College adalah yang salah satu yang sedang diunggulkan adalah program weekend, yaitu adalah Wardaya Education dan Consulting and Agency. Weekend ini adalah divisi dari Wardaya College yang yang tugasnya adalah mengurus dan membantu murid-murid untuk mempersiapkan melanjutkan jenjang studi pendidikan ke luar negeri. Kemudian ada juga adalah Wardaya School atau SMA Wardaya. SMA Wardaya ini adalah SMA yang menggabungkan 3 kurikulum, yaitu kurikulum nasional, kurikulum A-level Cambridge, dan kurikulum peminatan. Kualifikasi dari pengajarnya sudah mencapai strata S2 dan S3. Untuk Bapak Ibu, rekan-rekan dan teman-teman yang ingin membutuhkan informasi dan meminta informasi lebih lanjut tentang program-program di Wardaya College, bisa menghubungi Wardaya College di alamat berikut. Secara online bisa klik www.wardayaonline.com atau www.wardayacollege.com. Melalui email bisa di wardayacollege@gmail.com. Melalui WhatsApp bisa di 0816 950 875. Instagramnya ada di @wardayacollegeofficial. Beberapa acara-acara atau program-program yang pernah Wardaya College adakan adalah Indonesia Regional Competition. Ini sudah diadakan di tanggal 15 Mei kemarin. Kemudian ada kelas persiapan HSK, kelas persiapan tes bahasa Mandarin yang akan dibuka nanti di bulan Juli. Awal kelas perdana akan di Senin dan Selasa tanggal 11 dan 12 Juli. Dengan saya sebagai pengajar sendiri sebagai pengajarnya. Kemudian ada kelas persiapan SAT atau Scholastic Aptitude Test. Ini untuk info sessions yang akan datang akan ada di 21 Mei ya, tes masuknya di 21 Mei. Baik, berikutnya. Ini IRC yang kemarin, pelaksanaannya tanggal 15 Mei tahun 2022. IRC adalah Indonesia Regional Competition yang merupakan kompetisi yang diadakan oleh Wardaya College. Kompetisi ini terbagi menjadi 2 regional, yaitu regional barat dan regional tengah dan timur. Mata pelajaran yang dilombakan adalah matematika, fisika, kimia, dan biologi. Berikutnya ini juga ada nanti webinar jam 11 sampai jam 11.55 dengan judul Role of Global Experience and Data Science in Current Workplace dengan bekerjasama dengan SPJ School of Global Management dengan pembicara Mr. Greg Setiawan. Untuk acara-acara yang akan Wardaya College adakan berikutnya adalah yaitu gelombang 2 IRSC untuk Indonesian Youth Business Idea Competition. Pendaftarannya adalah di tanggal 17 Juni, pendaftaran hingga 17 Juni 2022. Aturannya adalah satu tim maksimal 3 orang, terbuka untuk siswi SMP dan SMA. Proposal yang disubmit boleh menggunakan bahasa Indonesia atau bahasa Inggris. Template proposal bisa di-download di website irc.wardayaonline.com. Proposal bisa diupload di https irc.wardayaonline.com pendaftaran, dan ide bisnis harus berorientasi pada pengembangan teknologi di berbagai bidang. Berikutnya ada tryout UTBK SBMPTN Mandiri dan pembahasan materi tryout untuk periode 1 Mei sampai 30 Mei dengan bekerjasama dengan sekolah STM Prasetya Mulia. Berikutnya ada info sessions untuk Wardaya School atau SMA Wardaya dengan Bapak Dr. Anton Wardaya di hari Rabu tanggal 25 Mei jam 8 sampai 8.45. Berikutnya ada open house SMA Wardaya di hari Sabtu tanggal 28 Mei 2022 pukul 1 sampai 3 sore waktu Indonesia Barat. Ini terbuka untuk umum. Lokasi acaranya di SMA Wardaya di Taman Ratu Indah, Blok F13, Duri Kepa, Kebon Jeruk, Jakarta Barat. Ada dibuka juga kelas persiapan beasiswa studi S1, S2, Master Degree, ataupun S3, PhD, atau Doctoral Degree. Informasi lebih lanjut boleh menghubungi di WhatsApp 0816 950 875. Berikutnya ada kelas Olimpiade yang dirancang khusus bagi siswa-siswi SD, SMP, SMA yang akan mengikuti kompetisi Olimpiade baik tingkat nasional maupun internasional. Bidang studi kelas Olimpiade antara lain matematika, fisika, kimia, biologi, IPA, komputer, astronomi, dan ekonomi. Berikutnya ada kelas persiapan universitas, itu terdiri dari 5 kelas, yaitu kelas enrichment, kelas pre-top university, kelas pre-top regional university, kelas top regional university atau trust, dan kelas top universitas. Ini adalah kelas persiapan sekolah unggulan atau ujian sekolah, yaitu top SMP dan top SMA. Beberapa murid yang sudah berhasil diterima di perguruan tinggi top di luar negeri adalah Mutiara Dinasti Siregar yang telah diterima di Harvard Business School atau MBA. Dia adalah alumni kelas top University Wardaya College batch 2014, dan Nathaniel Chandra yang telah diterima di Harvard University atau MIT. Dia adalah alumni kelas Olimpiade SMP kelas 8 dan top univ kelas 12. Baik, sekian presentasi dan profil dan program dari Wardaya College dari saya. Kita akan masuk ke inti webinar selanjutnya yang akan dipimpin oleh Profesor yang akan dipandu oleh Gregory Barattini. Mr. Gregory, please, and the microphone is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. I think what I will do is leave my video off. Sometimes that helps the connection to be a little bit stronger, but you can hear me now, right? No problem hearing?
No problem.
Okay, So what I thought I would do today is present you with a quick overview of Foothill and De Anza colleges. I think the really important person here today is Russell, who can talk to you firsthand as a student from Wardaya and as a student who went to De Anza College and succeeded in being accepted into one of the top universities, not only in the United States, but in the world, University of California, Berkeley. So I'm going to try to leave as much time as possible for Russell also to speak. And remember, you can ask Russell questions in Bahasa Indonesia. I would like to hear them in Bahasa Inggris, but don't worry about that. If you are more comfortable in Bahasa Indonesia, you can ask in Bahasa Indonesia. So I will go now to share my screen and begin the presentation on Foothill and De Anza colleges. So give me a second. I'm always a little bit slow doing this. I think I've got it now. It's almost going to happen. There we go. So let's see. I'm trying to make it as big as possible. Can you see it now? Is it okay? Yes, okay. You can see the screen, correct?
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
terrific, terrific. Let's see now. I'm just trying to see if I could make it a little bit bigger, but it's okay. Anyway, so Foothill and De Anza are two different colleges. We are twins. We're about 10 minutes apart by car, and we are located in the heart of Silicon Valley. We are part of the California State Public School System. The more than 115 community colleges located in California alone, and in the United States, almost 1,000. A very interesting fact about community colleges that a lot of people don't understand is that almost 50% of all Americans now begin their university studies at community colleges. Colleges in the United States are never high schools. They're always university levels. If you went to Harvard College, for example, to get your bachelor's degree, your degree would be from Harvard College, not university. Harvard is, in fact, a four-year college. So in the US, we have two-year colleges and four-year colleges. Dartmouth, another Ivy League school, is Dartmouth College. So we have two-year universities called colleges and four-year university level programs, which are also called colleges. There are two reasons why a large number of Americans and a growing number of international students begin in the California community colleges and at community colleges throughout the United States. Number one amongst those is we are least expensive. So because we are mostly public universities, our costs are the lowest of all of the public universities in the United States, that is community colleges. Community colleges in California, the tuition is all about the same because it is set by the state government. What differs are the living costs, and we'll go more into costs a little bit from this. So one of the number one reasons that we have almost 50% of Americans beginning at community colleges is because of the cost. But number two is especially important for international students as well as for American students. That is, we offer access that you would not otherwise have to top universities in the United States. Applying to UC Berkeley or Harvard, Yale, or MIT, or many other schools, not only just the elite schools, is much more difficult to do and to get into to coming directly from high school. So what community colleges allow you to do is to ramp up your grades and all of the other key elements that elite schools are looking for when they want to admit you into their top level schools. It's more than just grades, and Russell can talk to you more about this as well. But it's very important that you have 2 years in a community college to get all of the things that you need together. We are very well equipped to help you reach those goals. So these are the two main reasons that 50% of Americans and a great number of international students begin their studies at community colleges. You will see many community colleges, including us, who give you our rankings. Now, rankings change from year to year, and they change from ranking service to ranking service. And I will tell you the most important thing to know is that rankings do not matter a great deal, especially for community colleges. We are very proud of ours, and I will talk to you about them. But the most important thing that we as a community college and that Wardaya as the college where you are studying or may be studying want is for you to have the best fit for your education. We want you to find the school that is correct for you. Not every school is a good fit for you, not only in terms of whether or not they have your major, but where they're located, how much they cost. There are many things to consider. And the counselors at Wardaya can help you go over that list. And we hope that we are one school that you might consider in your going ahead. But the main thing is that rankings are relative, they are important, but the most important thing is to find the school that is the best for you. And that is also a conversation you have with your parents and with the counselors at Wardaya. We are very proud in terms of the rankings for one which is irrefutable. We are #1 for acceptances and transfers to the University of California. Since we are part of the California state system, UC Berkeley, UCLA, UC San Diego, all of the 9 UCs that have undergraduate programs are our brother schools. The Cal States, San Jose State, one of the top schools for computer science and engineering, are part of the 23 Cal State universities, San Jose State, San Francisco State, San Diego State. So we have brother-sister relationships with the other schools in the California state system. This has a very important advantage for you. Unlike schools, community colleges in, say, Washington State or Texas or Massachusetts, any of the other 49 states, the Californias, the UCs and the Cal States must consider the students coming from the California community colleges first when they are looking at admissions. Here's an interesting fact. 95% of all students transferring into the 3rd year of the UCs come from California community colleges. That means that out of the other 49 states in the United States, only 5% or 5 out of every 100 who transfer into the 3rd year of the UCs come from outside of California. This is a whopping big figure. And if your heart is set on going to one of the UCs, it's something you need to consider in terms of where you decide to go into a community college. So we're very proud of the fact that our 2 schools, which are in one district, are ranked #1 for acceptance and transfers to the UCs. The other fact here, and maybe you've been reading the screen while I've been talking, that I am very proud of, is that our district, which contains our 2 schools, both Foothill and Anza, is ranked the #1 safest community college district in California. And you can see the reference here is from stateuniversity.com. So out of 115 community colleges in the state of California, our district, our 2 schools are ranked the #1 safest. I think that would be of interest, especially to your parents. The other fact I like to point out on this side is that we have an average class size of 27. Some are more, some are less, but we are large schools, we have large population, we have very large campuses that are quite beautiful, and Russell can speak to that, but our average class size is 27. So you can go back and you can look at any of the information that we have online and check out some of the other rankings and ratings here. So why Foothill and Anza? We have over 100 majors and programs. Affordable tuition is about $9,000 a year. Flexible admission requirements, that means we do not require the SAT. And when you transfer into the UCs, about 95% of the other schools, more than 4,000 universities in the United States, in the great majority, you will never have to present the SAT, which is the Scholastic Aptitude Test, which many universities do require. But after 2 years with us, generally, you will never have to submit that. And we have, so that covers flexible admission requirements. Outstanding transfer agreements, we'll look at that in a later slide. We have TAG, the Transfer Agreement Program. Award-winning faculty and facilities. I think Russell could probably talk something about the faculty he's met with us. Safe and welcoming campus, and small class sizes and support. Another benefit of going to a California community college, as opposed to, say, a community college in another state, is that we are the only schools that have what are called the TAG program, Transfer Agreement Guarantee. This is a program where you are actually guaranteed admission to some of the top University of California schools. So you can see them listed here on this slide. Davis, which is #1 in many fields related to health and science. Irvine, which is ranked in the top 50 of all American universities. Merced, Riverside, Santa Barbara, Santa Cruz. Now UC Berkeley, no community college anywhere has guaranteed admission or preferred admission. Some community colleges in California imply or even say that they do, but they don't. And they would go, Berkeley would go crazy if they found another community college who said that they had preferred or guaranteed admission. It's simply not true. But the record of our two schools transferring into Berkeley is the best compared to other schools. We do have a pathway program, which is available to our students. It's an exclusive program with Berkeley. There are only 9 or 10 California community colleges in this program, but it's called a Pathway to a Four-Year University. It's run exclusively with Berkeley, but since Berkeley does not want to imply that this is a pathway directly to Berkeley, it's called Pathway to a Four-Year University program. But the idea is that you meet with a Berkeley admissions counselor on our campus to discuss your plans and hopes and thoughts, and that you can, if you want, in the summer, take courses on the Berkeley campus. Berkeley is about 1 hour and 15 minutes away from us by car. So these are the features of the Pathway program. Now with UCLA, also one of the very top ranked schools in the United States within the UC system, we have the TAP program. This is not guaranteed admission, it's transfer admission preferred. And this is the strongest through our FOOTHILL program. We always have kids going to UCLA from De Anza, but there is a stronger link through FOOTHILL if you are interested in going to UCLA. About 85% of our students with a 3.6 or higher are admitted into UCLA. So here we have a few other facts and figures. We have guaranteed admission at other schools such as Arizona State University, and you can go back and take a look at these as well. So out of almost 1,000 community colleges in the United States and 115 in California, we're the only community colleges that I know of that actually publish the number of figures of students who we have transfer. These are based on statistics coming right from the University of California. And we could not publish them if they were not true. People would go crazy within the California system. So anyway, these are the actual figures, the latest figures. And I am pleased to say that we were quite surprised to see that from the last time we updated this chart until these are the most recent figures, our numbers have gone up. It is in spite of the fact of there being fewer international students coming because of the pandemic. So we've been very pleased with these figures. Now, you can see at the bottom of this slide, our students are also accepted to the Ivy schools, such as Brown, Cornell, Yale, Columbia, and often Harvard is there. I think the last time Harvard wasn't on there. Princeton is there sometimes. As I say, it changes from year to year. Stanford, MIT, the Big Ten schools, those are University of Michigan, University of Illinois, University of Wisconsin, and you can see the other schools here as they are listed. In our brochure and literature, you will see a very long list of schools that our students transfer into. So we just don't transfer into the California schools, although the majority of our students, they've studied for 2 years in California, they like the weather, their friends are here. We have a special program from the TAG program and the TAP program. So we do have more students transferring and staying within the state of California. We are in the heart of Silicon Valley. That has several advantages. One, the weather is great. Two, it's easy to get from the airport to our campuses. Depending on the traffic, it's 30 to 45 minutes because the airport is south of San Francisco. It's 45 minutes to 1 hour into the city of San Francisco, one of the most beautiful cities in the United States. We have many beautiful touristic spots around us. Now, location should not be a major point on which you choose your school, but we have very beautiful campuses, every facility, very large, and we are located in a which is of great interest and could be of importance to you. We are 15 minutes from the Foothill campus to Palo Alto, where Stanford is located. We're about an hour and 15 minutes, again by car, from UC Berkeley, into the universities that are in San Francisco, University of San Francisco, San Francisco State. We are 45 minutes to an hour, depending on which campus that you are on. To San Jose State, again, an outstanding computer science and engineering school, 15 minutes from the Anza. In other words, you have the opportunity to visit many top universities while you are with us. And I think that's a real plus. So we're easy to fly into. It's easy to get a flight into San Francisco. You don't have to fly another 5 or 6 hours to the East Coast. You don't have to drive 5 or 6 hours to get to your housing and to the campuses. Everything is very convenient. The weather is great, no snow. We are on the safest campus of all the districts in California. And you have access to many of the top universities. These are just some of the touristic opportunities here in our area, Silicon Valley. We're about 10 minutes from the Apple headquarters in Cupertino. They built a new campus. Before this, 5-6 years ago, all of the Apple new products were announced and presented on the campus of De Anza. Both of the co-founders of Apple, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, went to De Anza. And Google is about 10 minutes away from our Foothill campus. But there are many beautiful things to see and do in our area. It's another plus regarding our location. Now, Foothill is the smaller of the two campuses in terms of enrollment. It has fewer international students and it has fewer Indonesian students. So if you're looking for a place with those benefits, it would be for you. You might get a little bit more attention there because the student population is less than it is at De Anza. But I will tell you that Indonesian students prefer De Anza. So just a little warning is that if you are at De Anza, you will meet more Indonesian students, which is not a bad thing. So we've had students who have met their future spouses there. So that can also be a benefit in other ways. Admission is simple. You can talk to the folks at Wardaya, your counselors there. They can help you every step of the way. These are just some of the guidelines. I want to say a little bit about the cost. You can see the new tuition figures are listed there. I want to give you one warning. These are the figures for 12 credits per quarter. So this is the total cost for 1 year, but only for the minimum number of courses you are required to take by law to stay in status in the United States. To actually graduate on time, you have to take 15 units or credits per quarter. So that will bring this figure up to about $10,000 or a little bit more. All of the schools in California, all of the schools in California quote the price for 12 credits. None of them quote the price for 15 credits. None of them wants to seem more expensive than the other schools. But I am telling you, you can tell your parents that in fact, the tuition fee will be higher. Now, the good news is that we are on the quarter system. That means we have 3 periods of study each year, not 2 like on the semester system. That gives your parents the advantage to pay this only $3,000, $3,500 each quarter. So it's like an installment plan. You do not bring over all of this money in your pocket, or you don't send it all to an account in the United States. You don't pay all of this cash to the school up front. Almost all of these payments are pay as you go. You pay for books and supplies as you need them. Room and board, you pay as you go along. Spending money as you spend it. Now, in addition to paying the tuition in 3 installments during the year, you also have the option of paying an installment 3 times in a session. So in 1 quarter, your family could send over 1/3 of the cost of that. Say, let's just say, keep it easy and say 3,000. They would pay every month $1,000 for your studies, for your tuition. Unfortunately, we do not have any scholarships for our first year. Some of them are available for the second year, which depend on your grades. And it's also possible to get on-campus work. Not guaranteed, but we will try very hard to get you a paid on-campus job if that is something that you need. Okay. I spoke a little bit about the cost savings and why American students and international students come to us. This is just a little bit of a quick comparison. So you can see 2 years at Foothill and Anza, the tuition cost, not the room and board and everything else, this is only comparing tuition, is about $18,000. At the California State Universities, it's about twice that. And at the University of California, you can see the multiple is quite a bit more. Going to a private university such as Stanford or Harvard is considerably more. So students have figured out, do the first 2 years at a community college, spend much less money, and have a real chance of getting into an elite school. So that's something that we can take a look at. You can scan this barcode and our brochure will come up for you. And again, here are some of the different ways that, our Facebook and our Twitter and our Instagram and our website. And please keep in mind that Wardaya can help you every step of the way. They've had more than one student come to our schools and more than one student go on to schools such as UC Berkeley. So that I'm going to keep it rather short there and give you some time for questions and whatever. And I want to give some time for Russell to come in here and make some comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Greg. Russell, the platform is yours.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So as Mr. Greg has said, Anza and Foothill is basically a really good community college for transferring, especially if you are planning to transfer to a University of California. It's one of the highest transfer rates, meaning that a high percentage of the students who apply to UCs get accepted. So when it comes to transferring, I'd say if you really want to go to UC, then you most likely should consider Foothill and Anza because of like the support and everything that you need for transferring is there. So basically it all comes down to how you perform in the Anza, and yeah, you should be able to transfer with ease.
Maybe you want to say something, Russell, about what the UCs are looking for. We always tell students it's not just the GPA. We have students with a 4.0, which is the highest GPA, who don't get into UC Berkeley or other elite schools. There are, in fact, 4 or 5 other areas that the elite schools are looking, doing the evaluation of incoming students. For example, Berkeley has a real emphasis, and I know this because I work with Berkeley very closely. We do joint presentations all the time. They have a very close affinity for, they look at service. So they want to see what kinds of service has a student performed. We have service clubs on campus. Service would be things like volunteering to tutor other students, to working with the elderly, to doing something when you're back home in Indonesia. There are various different ways that they look at service. So it's grades. As I tell students, grades will get you to the door, but it won't get you through the door. So one of the main things at Berkeley, not at all of the elite schools, but Berkeley has a particular emphasis on service. Number two is leadership. We have courses in leadership, and we have opportunities for you to show your leadership. If you're interested in student government, if you're interested in some of the different clubs, we have more than 70 clubs on campus: Indonesian Student Club, International Club, Engineering Club, business clubs. So to get involved in clubs, they want to know what activities have you been involved in. They want to know what makes you different and special from other students. So that's an important thing. And I tell students, get involved in clubs you're really interested in, things that really, don't just join clubs to join clubs, but if you like sports, if you like music, if you like, pre-professional activities, these are the kinds of clubs to get interested in. One of the last things they look at is the essay that you're going to write. And we do have a transfer center on campus so that you will not be alone when you want to make your applications. And you will be talking to your fellow students. You will be talking to faculty members who can give you tips and hints about what school might be the best school for you to consider to transfer into, and maybe some hints and tips about what you want to do for your application. Russell, do you want to say anything about those areas?
Sure. So like Mr. Greg said, GPA is one of the biggest thing when it's when you usually look at like your transcript and everything, but it's not everything. You need to be a well-rounded student, meaning that you also need to like show that you participate in leadership activities, or you join clubs that are related to your major, or you help your community in some way, such as volunteering, being a tutor, or being a TA. Me, myself, I did all three basically. I did everything. So by doing multiple different activities that revolves around my major, I can show UCs what my student life is and how I contribute to society when it comes to being a student at the Anza.
Very proud of you, Russell. Very proud.
Thank you.
You see, this is what it takes. You do everything. You do everything you can. Now, I just want to point out that going to an elite school is a great thing, but it's not the only thing. And the elite schools are not always the best schools. Some of the Cal States, for example, are better than some of the UCs in some fields. So you should not worry necessarily about getting into in an absolutely elite school, because we all get into the school that reflects what our merits are, what we're able to do. In the United States, we have a general progression theory. It's this: you can start out in a community college. Community colleges are not difficult to enter. They are, however, your best chance of getting into a higher level school when you finish. When you graduate, Russell's degree will be from UC Berkeley. No one will even know that he went to the Anza. I tell students we can be the secret school. So anyway, it's an important thing. You can start with us. You can go to UC Berkeley or another school. And then if you want to do a master's degree, you can go to an even higher level school after that. So you're walking up the steps of education into what you want to do.
Thank you so much, Mr. Greg and Russell, ya, for explanation and sharing. Jadi nanti kalau misalnya pengurusan tentang aplikasi ke FOOTHILL di Anza, kalian bisa hubungi Wardaya College, ya. Bisa hubungi saya juga dengan Dr. Anton Wardaya. Jadi nanti kita habis ini langsung, ini adalah salah satu pathway ya to the top universities such as UC Berkeley, UCLA. Terus tadi disebutkan sama Mr. Greg juga ada yang ke MIT ya, terus habis itu ke top university lainnya. Ya, oke, mungkin kita langsung masuk sesi Q&A. Ya.
Baik, Pak Anton. Now we will enter the last segment, which is this question and answer segment, I would like to remind all our audiences for today's webinar about the two methods of submitting questions. The first method is by clicking raise hand feature button, and the second method is by typing and sending your questions using the chat feature. Now we're gonna open the question and answer segment. I already have one question on the chat, on my chat. Does FOOTHILL plus the Anza provide any scholarship? Please explain.
Okay, as I mentioned, for the first year, we do not. For the second year, it is possible to apply for a scholarship based on your grades. These are called merit scholarships. So that it depends on how good your grades are. You have to apply, and the scholarships run from $50 to $5,000 off the tuition for the second year. So unfortunately, the simple answer is no. For the first year, we do not offer scholarships.
Thank you so much, Mr. Greg. Is there any questions from the audience?
I see another one there about UC Berkeley help in terms of financial aid for international students. I think Russell might be able to address that if he has any personal experience with that.
From what I know, it's a little bit harder for Berkeley, especially because it's a public school, so its support for internationals is harder. But definitely, there are very few scholarships that they support, but generally they do not, from what I know.
I think that is correct. They have a list on their website, and that's probably better to look directly at the UC Berkeley website, which lists sources that may be outside of the university. So there are a few, I think they call Regent scholarships. There are very few. They are available, and you can apply for those. But I think Russell's firsthand experience speaks to that.
All right. Thank you, Russell, and thank you, Mr. Gregory. I have question number 3 here in my chat. Is it necessary to take the SAT and the ACT test?
The answer is no. That's good news. ACT and SAT are being required by fewer and fewer schools in the United States. Some of them still do. With us, you do not have to take either one. And the UC system just during the pandemic just stopped requiring the SATs. And if you send the SAT into the UCs, they will not look at it. So some schools say, we don't require it, but if you take it, send it in. We don't require it. I would say don't bother. And after 2 years with us, I think 95% of the schools that you would transfer into would not require it. So there may be some other universities in the United States, maybe some private universities that either require it for entrance into the freshman year, or would say, if you take it and get a good score, send it in. The reverse advice is if to those schools, if you take it and don't get a good score, don't send it in. So, but the short answer is no SAT and no ACT required.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Greg. The next question number 4 on my chat is, if we wanted the guaranteed admission program, I believe it is called the TAG, do we have to declare that from when we apply to the community college? What is the rundown on this program?
Okay, so you can go to the UC site and you will get much better and more direct information than I can give you, but you are correct. As far as I understand it, when you first apply, you do not declare what school you want to go to. In the past, you were only able to apply to one of those schools as your tag program school, not multiple numbers. UC Santa Barbara used to allow you to apply to more than one. I don't know if that is the case, but you can wait until you're ready, until you want to make a clearer decision. The value of the tag program is that if you didn't get into, let's say, UC Berkeley or UCLA or some other dream school, you have a great fallback. as I said, UC Irvine is ranked in the top 50 of all American universities. UC Davis is #1 in many different fields. So to have as a fallback position, the ability for a transfer admission guarantee, that's a great thing to do. Russell, what is your experience with the TAG program?
So for transfers, we apply for the admission to UCs about a year after we enroll to the Anza. So say, for my experience, I joined the Anza in fall 2019, and I'm applying to transfer in fall 2020. And for TAG, it's about, I'd say, 3 to 4 weeks before you actually submit the UC application. You would need to fill a form and make sure that you've fulfilled all the requirement, and make sure that you have completed all the required classes before you can send a tag to one of the UCs. If you fulfill all the requirements, generally it will take a couple of weeks, like 1 or 2 weeks, for them to respond. And when they say that you're good to go, then you just apply for that specific university in November, and you'll guarantee to get the admission.
Great. And I just want to add that when you apply to the UCs, I believe that they have a common admissions form. They have different admission standards, but I believe that you can apply to more than one UC, not in the TAG program, but for general admission.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, you basically can apply to all 9 at the same time. So if you go to the UC website, you can open the applications form, and from there you can basically fill out one big form, and you can send that one big form to all the UCs. So you don't have to redo everything. You just fill out one form and you can send it to all 9 UCs. And
you pay the application fee for each school, is that correct?
That is correct. So for each school, I believe it's like either $75 or $80. Mm-hmm. So for every school that you add on the application, it will just add up the values or the cost.
Okay, thank you very much, Russell and Mr. Greg. My next question, question number 5, is it true that taking CC in California than the other state increased the probability to be accepted in UC, and also valid for international student?
Number 1, it's valid for international students. In the United States, it's almost a legal matter. That's what's valid for one group is valid for all groups. But number 2, and you will see this on the University of California websites. It's not just me saying this as the representative of a California community college, but the UCs look first at the Community College California graduates. So they have to look first at ours. And that's why 95 out of every 100 students transferring into the UC system in the 3rd year come from California community colleges. Only 5 come from the other 49 states. So that's a very significant figure. And if you go to the UC website, you will see that they have made a commitment to taking transfer students from the California community students colleges. And for UC Berkeley in particular, they have a kind of a pledge, they have a policy for every 2 students who are admitted as freshmen to take 1 student who's admitted as a transfer. So those are some statistics for you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Greg. Then my next question, question number 7 is, for the housing, is it like a dorm or apartment, and is it near the campus? How much would be the cost?
Okay, I'll start with this and then I'll let Russell give you real world experience. Out of 115 community colleges in California, I can think of only 2 that have on-campus housing. It's not California state policy to build housing on the campuses. If you're under 18 at Foothill and Anza, you must stay with a family. If you're 18 or over, you can go into a student apartment. You can ask to be placed directly. We work with an organization called ISP, international student placement, which Wardaya counselors will help you with in terms of the placement. Now, whether you're 18 or over, we recommend you start with a family. We recommend you start with a family because they can give you much better support than moving into an apartment with other kids that you don't know who are your own age. So if you're not feeling well, if you're feeling homesick, if you need information, they provide 10 or 16 meals per week, depending on the plan that you choose. But I think one of the biggest benefits, even if you're 18 or older and you're coming in, for staying with the family first, there's either a 2-month contract or a 3-month contract, is that you get to meet and make friends with other students on campus. And then you know who you want to live with, not just move into an apartment where you don't know anyone. And also you might meet friends who say, well, we have an opening here, we've got a bedroom there, would you like to join us? Number two, you can decide what area you'd like to live in. So you can make a more intelligent choice after you've been with the family, I believe. So that's our recommendation, but it's up to you. If you're 18 or older, you can move directly into a student apartment. We tell people it's 30 to 45 minutes away from the campus by bus. I know Indonesian and Malaysian students who have found apartments where they can walk to campus that are 15 minutes away. I think that's unusual. I'm sure they're more expensive the closer they are to campus. And we figure that the room and board per month is going to be about $1,300. You'll see that on the financial sheet that's estimated. So for 10 months, it'll be about $13,000. Now, students are very smart and they figure out all kinds of ways to find housing and to do things. And for that, I'm going to let Russell tell you a little bit about his housing experiences.
Thank you. For my experience, usually for students who are 18 or older, we have different options. And the first one is basically apartment. You guys can look for any apartment close or a little bit far from campus. And usually the further apartments from campus are cheaper and the closer ones are very expensive. Second option is there are homestays that are offered by the Anza, like Mr. Greg said. So the Anza offers this kind of homestay where you can just apply on campus and they will match you up with a corresponding house parent. And the third option is we have multiple Indonesian homestays, so you can contact me or other fellows the Anza students, and they can give you contact information about Indonesian parents that have been living in the US for quite some time that have spare rooms.
Russell, that's terrific information. I didn't know about the Indonesian family homestays. Thank you for that tip. I appreciate that. We'll talk more about that later. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Russell and Mr. Greg. The next one, question number 8, would be, I think this is in the same notion of the previous question. For freshmen, would there be any dormitory, especially for those under 18 years old? I think it's already answered, yeah.
Correct. Asked and answered. They have to be in a family, have to go to a homestay.
Right. Okay. Is there any more questions from the audience? I think we still have a little bit of time. Okay. I saw someone raising hand. Any questions? Any more questions from anyone? Okay, so I think this would be the last question. How about minimum grade? How about the minimum grade or age to enter the college?
If you have average grades, you will be admitted. No community college should pretend that it's difficult to get in. The social, political, educational philosophy of community colleges is ease of entry. So if you have average grades, you should be fine. If you're under 18, you have to have either a GED, General Education Diploma, which is our equivalent high school diploma, or a diploma from a school in Indonesia. We do accept kids with O levels, and we will take kids as young as 16. So those are some general answers to your questions.
All right, thank you so much. Oh, so one more question from the audience. I think this will be the last one. Is there any student advisor in the Anza?
Yes, we have. If you need counseling or help, it's there. We are larger schools, and I tell students that in life and at Foothill and the Anza, you will do better if you're proactive rather than reactive. Meaning, if you're not feeling well, go to the health center. If you're feeling homesick, go, and we have people who can talk to you about that. If you're afraid of facing a class in calculus or English, there's free counseling and tutoring on campus. But you need to be the one who is proactive. There are the international student centers are I think very supportive, but you need to be the one to reach out. Russell, what's your experience?
It's definitely very accurate. There are a variety of support that the Anza and Foothill provides, but the most important thing is for students to seek for help or support, for counseling. From my experience, I got most help from the ISP counselors. They have 2, I believe, when I was there. So I regularly check up with the ISP counselors to ask for my classes or am I on track for transfer? And they can generally guide me to what classes to take and what clubs or activities I should join.
ISP is International Student Program Counselors, just so you guys who don't know what ISP is.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Greg and Mr. Russell. And is there any more? Oh, one more last question. Yeah, last question for today. Is there any possibility for the students to be able to be accepted in the university that he or she wants?
I missed that. Is there any what? I didn't hear the full.
Is there any possibility or probability for students to be accepted in the university that he or she wants?
Well, it depends.
What is it like? Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on your own achievements in those 5 different areas. In the area of transfer admission guarantee, it's more dependent just on the grades alone. It depends on a lot of things. So we have guaranteed admission, we have a very good track record, but in the end, it depends a great deal on you, how you've succeeded, the work you've done. You heard Russell say he did everything. He did service, he did leadership, he did all of the things you need to do. If you are passive and you stay in your room and you only get a 4.0, that in many cases, other than for the transfer admission guarantee, that will not necessarily get you into an elite school. So you have to be in partnership with the goals and with the abilities and with the all the opportunities that the school has to offer. So it's not just a passive thing. You have to be active, proactive in pursuing your dream.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Greg and Russell. Thank you very much. With the end of our 3rd segment previously, which is the question and answer segment, we are finally at the end of our today's info sessions. Before I end today's webinar, I would like to remind our audience today to follow Wardaya College on Instagram at Wardaya College Official for further information regarding all programs and events of Wardaya College. Once again, I would like to thank our speaker today, Mr. Greg and Russell, for the time today. Thank you so much, Mr. Greg and Russell. Thank you very much as well to our audience today. You all have been such a lovely and wonderful audience. Should there be any inconvenience occur through our webinar today, I hereby apologize deeply. Finally, I will end today's webinar now. Good morning, good health, and may wellness be upon us all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Greg, Russell. Thank you,
Thank you.
ya.
Thank you.
Thank you, ya.
Thank you.
Thank you all audience.